Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you again for the messages. Thank you for those that have subscribed. Thank you for those that have given me feedback. I do appreciate it. Yeah, it's kind of nice to know that there's two or three people out there listening. But yeah, today's a bit of a funny day. Today I was sitting and thinking, and I must be honest, I wasn't. I'm not really in the best of moods, just because of life. I mean, y'all are aware I have mentioned it in a previous video. But so I was sitting here this morning, and I really had no mood, no energy, no lists, as they say in Cape Town, to do anything about it, man. I just literally wanted to go put my head in the sand, kind of thing. Go lay on the bed and just waste the day. But then I was listening to one of these motivations on TV now, and it was talking about how in before you can do the grand things, you have to do the first step. You have to take one step, and it reminded me of the joke that my daughter told me, and she said, how do you eat the elephant? One bite at a time. So that thought, I was sitting here this morning and I was doing some writing, um, just getting it out, and I just thought about it, and ultimately that's when I was thinking about this walk, right? So today I want to talk to you guys about day four. Day four was when I left Hermanus, or actually technically Onrus, which is about 5 to 6 k's outside of Hermanus. Yeah. Um, so I was leaving Hermanus to go to Pearly Beach to start to arrive at my accommodation in Pearly Beach. Altogether, plus it would be plus minus about 71 kilometers, about 16 hours walk. So remember, walking at 5 o'clock in the morning, I would have come about 8 o'clock. I don't know if my maths is right. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. But I thought about it. And at that point, when I was at Pearly Beach, or this was day four now. By day four, really, the mood was no longer there. The excitement was no longer there. As I'm feeling right now, as tired as I'm feeling and exhausted as I'm feeling, as much as I just wanted to give up and go lay today. Um, the night before, I was in Hermanus with a very lovely family, Carl and his family. And I had a good night's rest. They had a beautiful bed set up, beautiful home. And the next morning to have to stand up again at 5. Now, the night before, every night when I get to my destination, I'll take off my shoes immediately, take off my socks, and I'd soak my feet in Epsom salts because your feet are literally swollen from the day's walk. I mean, remember, that's 15 hours, 15 to 16 hours that you are on your feet, right? Carrying the weight and just walking. It's it's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing. So when I woke up that morning and I realized that what, gotta do it, gotta keep going on, gotta keep pushing. Um, again, it's a correlation to my life. There's been a lot of times in my life when I wanted to give up. There's been a lot of times when people in my life have told me to give up. Family, friends, loved ones, people that are supposed to be in your inner circle, that's supposed to be your number one supporters. Sorry, my dog is down here. Yeah. People are supposed to be your number one supporters. Sometimes are your main detractors. But I have managed to somehow black out the noise and keep my focus. I understood my purpose. Um, the goal was reached. I had already raised the funds for my wife's studies, right? And that was already reached. It was already technically there. Wasn't released yet for anybody that's asking. But I wanted to still do it, right? The night before, I spoke to my wife and I told her, babes, I'm this, I'm this, I'm that. She asked me, baby, would you quit? Would you come home? And I didn't give her an answer then and there. But I was laying on the bed when I was speaking to her, and I'll be honest with you, that thought was in my mind. that give up thought that, you know what, you've proved it can be done. You've done 3 days of this. The first step is the hardest. What do you have to prove? To who do you have to prove? But then I thought, to who do I have to prove? I have daughters that I am raising in a man's world, and that I tell them that you can do anything you put your mind to. This is a recurring theme that I raise my daughters with. And I thought about it, and I kept pushing. So I stood up that morning at 5 o'clock. I said goodbye to Carl, and I left very quiet in the morning. And there's such a quiet little area, Onrus. It's such a beautiful area, beautiful homes. But such a quiet area, I literally felt like I was breathing too loud. But I got onto the main road and I continued on. Continued on for another 5 to 6 k's when I got to Whale Coast Mall, which was supposed to be my end stop for the night before. But I continued walking and there was a McDonald's open, and I was like, oh man, I really wanted a cup of coffee right now. I really need a McDonald's coffee or McFlurry or something. But I pushed on. And I was in a good space because I had my music, but I also had my prayers. I can't explain it to you guys. For those that know me personally, they know that I'm a bit of a joker. I'm a dumbass, I'm not gonna lie. But I am a spiritual person, right? I never considered myself to be religious, but I'm spiritual. I know that's an odd thing to say, but there's something about walking for 16 hours a day, being alone with your thoughts and alone with your prayer. There's something about seeing the divinity in everything around you, experiencing that ethereal bliss. It's mad crazy. 5 o'clock in the morning, main road, Hermanus. The road was wet but shiny. Everything looked peaceful. There was not a car on the road. I walked in my thoughts, singing, talking to myself, for quite a bit through Hermanus. I saw quite a few B&Bs, quite a few B&Bs, and all my brain was telling me, oh man, go check it. So many B&Bs, and so many times I thought, I want to go stop there, I made mental notes to come back, I'm definitely one day soon going to take wifey for a weekend away. But I walked past beautiful areas. There was a part called Kwai Water, and I remember thinking, that's probably the place where all the colored people go swim. But I walked past this Kwai Water, and there's this cliffs, and I remember going to take a photo there. And again, the way the waves was hitting me, and the sea spray coming up. It was a good morning. It was a good feeling. At this point, the sun was already risen, and I continued on. Couldn't stop because I knew that I would have at least a 16-hour walk. I mean, 71 k's at this point, that would have been the most furthest, longest distance that I would be doing, right? So also, to make matters even more interesting, at this point I had started developing blisters on top of blisters, so my feet wasn't in a good space either. But I continued. Eventually moved out of Hermanus, and you get to a place called Vogelgat. Forgive me, I hope I'm not mispronouncing. Vogelgat, Vogelgat, oh, Vogelgat Nature Reserve. Oh my God, it's beautiful. Oh my God, it's beautiful. Beautiful road, right? But there's like this thin wire, not even a proper fencing, thin wire stopping whatever animals you're hearing in the bushes from coming to you. This road is going on forever. I can see in the distance, I can see motorbikers. They're the only ones that were awake that early. I can see bikers coming down the road like super bikes. Oh, want a super bike one day. Coming down the road, speeding down. I see animals, I see the fauna, flora, flowers. I'm standing there. And this is smell. I don't know. So often we drive past these areas and we never really stop to smell. I mean, for me, if it doesn't have rose petals, I don't think it's a flower. I don't really, consider it a flower. But there, I saw such raw nature. That again, it makes you stop and appreciate. I stood there and I swear I wasn't high, but colors looked more intense. Everything looked more. I continued walking through Vogelgat. Then you get to another nature reserve. I actually wrote down all the names of nature reserves because, again, it's beautiful. So after Vogelgat, there was the Waterfall Private Nature Reserve. Now, exactly as the name says, it's on your left as you were walking or going towards Stanford. Um, there was two massive waterfalls. It was not a high mountain, but it's beautiful. I stood there and I was just in awe. I didn't stay long because where I was standing, there was a massive sign that says baboons. And I was like, no, I'm not going to take chances. Whenever I saw a sign that said baboons, you best believe I was trotting along. I wasn't going to take chances at all. Um, the Waterfall Private Nature Reserve is followed up by Ouderbosch Private Nature Reserve. Right? Again, just natural beauty, unspoiled nature. I can't explain it to you guys. You don't know where to look. It's just massive trees, massive high trees. You really feel small, insignificant. I I felt like my rent wasn't important. I felt like school fees wasn't important. All those worries here at home wasn't important. Uh, this flat of mine, the upkeep and all the things that keeps me up at night that robs me of my peace wasn't important. It was just me alone. And you know what? I was initially disappointed when I didn't get a support car and none of my friends could join me. But being alone, I think, kind of was more of an experience for me. I can't explain it to you. I really can't. So I continued walking for a couple of hours more, and I eventually came to just outside Stanford. There is this Misty Mountains Lodge. Now I'll post a video. I actually managed to stop there to have breakfast. It was breakfast, yeah. It's kind of like a midpoint. I divided the walk up into threes because it was about 70 k. So I wanted to do 20, 70, 20, and so on. Excuse me, 70, 20 Ks, then another 20 Ks, and then, the last bit. So I wanted to break up the day. So I arrived there at Mercy Mountains Lodge, and the people were really nice, lovely people there. If you guys can ever stop there, it's a beautiful destination or a beautiful stop along the way. Misty Mountains Lodge, just about an hour outside of Stanford. So I stopped there and I got this grandstand there, man. But this grandstand is opposite or next to this lake. And this lake has like this foam on it. Now I remember when I was a kid, I think my brother still told me that when there's foam on the water, it's mermaids that have died. I know that's not true, but it's a thought that always gets in my head whenever I see foam on the water. It's mermaids. But I stood there and phoned home, checked in on everybody, had a sandwich. But again, I just took a moment and I just calmed myself, centered myself. Just again reminded myself. I had on my sluffies, my slippers, my sandals, flip flops for those that don't speak Afrikaans. I had my flip flops on at this point. My feet were zinging. Um, Took about an half an hour there, had a cup of coffee. My flask that I had was absolutely useless. I had bought this flask. It was like a solid size, but it was only 2 cups of coffee. So I'm a bit disappointed in that, but nevertheless, I had enough liquids and waters. But just at that point, because it was such cold, I wanted a cup of coffee. But it's a beautiful place at Misty Mountains Lodge. I don't think they have accommodation, but there's a restaurant there and whatnot, and some grounds. Oh, it's beautiful. So after that, I continued on in towards Stanford. Stanford again, a beautiful area. Couldn't really get to see much of it, man. That's just the one disappointing thing that I had because I was walking. I was in such a rush to get to my destination. Stanford goes on forever. After Stanford, there is a informal settlement. It also goes on forever. And again, you meet with stares of people looking at this crazy colored guy walking with bright blue tackies and this bright red bag on his back with a stick in his hand, looking like wannabe Moses or something. I don't know. Um, I guess everybody thought the same thing. They were like, "Look at this crazy mofo. Just what is he thinking?" I don't know. I'm sure if I had seen myself, I would also have laughed and made jokes or something. But after Stanford, I continued on for quite a bit. Not really much, to be honest, after that. But I got to Gansbaai. When I got to Gansbaai, there was a Celtics at Gansbaai. Now, I have a bit of a confession to make with you guys. I never completed the walk on day 4. I have to be honest with you guys. I never completed the walk on day 4. Day 4, when I got to the Celtics, I had taken off my shoes and my blisters had burst. And I was in pain, in such pain, I literally phoned home crying. I phoned home crying because my wife is my everything, and I never want to disappoint her. And I felt like I was disappointing her. Like I couldn't do it anymore. A lot of people believed and prayed. A lot of people were supporting us, and I didn't want to let you guys down. So when I phoned her and I told her that what's happening and where I am, I can't do it. I need help. We together decided it's best that I phone my accommodation and see if there's something that they can do. Because the owner of the Pearly Beach accommodation, the White House, it's literally called the White House. She actually lives in Gansbaai, so I was hoping that perhaps she was in the area and then she could just, come fetch me. But it was a difficult decision, guys. I'm telling you, it's not the easiest of decisions you can make. I was in pain and I couldn't do it. It was about 15 to 15, 20 k's, let's say around 20 k's to be honest with you, from Gansbaai to Pearly Beach. I had walked at this point about 53 kilometers already. So it was a good day. I was already around 5 o'clock, and at that point, my pace and that I was doing, and just my body's general energy levels, I wouldn't have made it before 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock. And according to my planning, I needed to be in my accommodations at least by 8 o'clock so that I can wash, eat, rest, and everything, and have at least 5 hours of sleep from 9 o'clock, you know, at least 5 to 6 hours, because I will stand up at 4 o'clock the next morning to go again. So I phoned Sister Bertha Stein, lovely lady. I phoned her and I explained to her the situation, and she said, what, unfortunately, she doesn't have a vehicle, but she's going to send her brother. I must just sit there and wait for him. So I sat there and I waited at the Celtics garage in Gansbaai. And funny enough, there is actually a church just opposite. Not our church, not I think it was the NG Kerk. And again, I use this moment just to connect, knock on the sky, talk to my maker. I didn't do what I wanted to do, but I was glad I made it there. And then, funny enough, the petrol attendants, I ended up speaking to them, and the experiences that they were relaying, because they were all quite curious about why I was doing what I was doing, and again, why am I walking so far? And when I explained to them the situation, they were all like taken back and they were quite impressed and moved actually. The one guy said, again, he also has a small child and he's also working at this job, double shift. He was literally working a double shift that day because he also wanted to take care of his small child. They stay in this informal settlement at the back, he said. So I was kept company by them for like half an hour before Bertha's brother popped in. When the brother showed up, so we were talking, and he was like, "What are you crazy? Why are you doing this?" I explained the situation, and he asked me about myself and whatnot. And it turns out him and my dad knows each other. Like he was a priest in our congregation in Scottsville, Scottsdene, excuse me. It's a congregation in Kravenstein where I'm from. So he knows my dad. He worked with my dad. And again, for me, being alone out on the road, right, far away from home, to make these connections with people, to make these connections to my home, to make these connections to my family, uh, you cling to everything and anything. So I continued on with driving, and we're having this amazing discussion, and get to his home. Oh, sorry, we get to the shop just outside the home. Pearly Beach, beautiful area, right? Very underdeveloped, small little, feel like a little fisherman's village kind of thing. So I get some fruit and some medication again. We go to the house, Pearly Beach, and I meet Bertha, and me and her have an amazing meal. Um, she made this lovely little chicken curry, almost, if I remember correctly. And biscuits. I love the biscuits, little round bulletjes. She gave me a tour of the home. That's beautiful accommodation, this B&B that she built out there, that side of the world. And she explained to me the reason. I asked her, why would you move out here? And she explained, circumstances. She found herself on that side of the world. She and her brother, they both have a accommodation because I guess that's big business out that side. But again, through sitting and chatting with her, I made experiences of faith, understood where her background. She told me, unfortunately, her daughter's dealing with a bit of medical issues, and how much she really, her heart desires to be there, which is why she was wanting to put up the place for sale so that she can move on. Now, I don't know if that's happened or still gonna happen. But I'm grateful that I could have been there, I could have experienced it, I could have felt everything that she's created. A beautiful home. A beautiful home. I'll try to post some pictures or something. But beautiful pool again, another pool that I couldn't explore. But beautiful home. After dinner, I literally went to go have a shower and pack my things again for the next day. I was in bed at 8 o'clock, people. 8 o'clock, I couldn't deal anymore. No TV, no nothing. I had to go lay. Put my feet up, and I got wooden flooring. My feet were so swollen that I couldn't tramp on wooden floors. Wooden floors hurt my feet. But I lay there and I cried. I cried because I failed. But I spoke to my wife, and again, I'm grateful for you, Ashila. She just put things into perspective, you know. It made me realize I didn't have anything to be ashamed of, didn't have anything to be disappointed of. I was not I was not hurting anybody, I was not disappointing anybody. I had done what I had planned to do. The walk was just for me. from me to you, I'm sorry I never told you guys the truth or I never disclosed this. It's something that I was disappointed about. 71 kgs is a lot to put on the body. Carrying 30 kilograms worth of clothing and food, it's a lot. Now, I'm not making excuses, but I want to say sorry. I should have been honest and open with you. The omission is still a lie. But I want to say thank you. If you've listened up until this point, I appreciate it. And I love you. And I'll speak to you again soon. Have a good afternoon.